Energy Minister John Peter Amewu is insisting the country will not return to the days when there were prolonged disruptions to electricity supply and that recent outages are only temporary. His assurance follows numerous complaints from across the country about severe disruptions, which has got many fearing the worst. Before we hear from the minister, let's hear from some residents who say they are compelled to sleep in the open following Wednesday night's outages. Latif Idris has been speaking with them.
If we get light, we will be happy on that.
So essentially you want to see improvement?
Yeah.
How soon?
Yeah, it depends on the government. Yeah.
But you are not disturbed about it?
Oh, we are disturbed.
We beg government, you should do something about doing so for us. They beg because of the way the light is going on, it's not good. Sometimes maybe your fridge or aircon, then the way the light is going is not good. So we beg you should do something for us.
So already you are feeling the impact of the, latest signs of doom already. Is that the case?
Oh, yes, I think everything is normal, so we take it like that. But we beg you, and we beg you to do something about it for us.
The current power situation is unacceptable. We urge government to do something about the situation to stabilize the power, because at a stance it appears we are going back to the dark days of Dumso.
Now, Energy Minister Peter Amewu, on a tour of electricity installations in the country, has been explaining what caused the recent outages. Maxwell Agbagba went along for the tour and has come through with this report.
We are currently here at Ekpon Thermal Plant, but the minister's first port of call was the Central Business District substation, where some people living within that area, the central part of Accra and then the western part, experienced some intermittent power outages on Tuesday and then Wednesday. Gridco CEO has been explaining that it was due to a purely technical challenge they experienced there.
As the minister has said, this is a new substation, a new technology that we have built in Ghana for the very first time. We built this gas insulated substation because we have limited space and we couldn't build a normal substation. But in trying to come to this station, the last tower here, we were limited by space, so we had to go underground using underground cables. And these cables get heated when they exceed a certain limit. So if we go around, you see that we even have cooling systems to cool the cable, and some of the protective devices, which we call relays, are set such that when you exceed a certain limit of the current, the station shuts off.
The second place the minister visited was Pokwase, where there is the ongoing construction of a third-tier interchange. We are told that that construction also disrupted power supply because some of the workers there have to divert the power running through the cables. They are also fixing some of the cables on some pylons there. Gridco CEO once again stated that should be over in 5 days.
Enough feedstock for the generation stations to provide the electricity that we need in Ghana. It is because we are doing this work, that is why we are having some challenges and difficulties. So I want to let Ghanaians be assured that Dumso is not back. This is not a Dumso thing that everybody is saying that there is Dumso, because there's enough generation. When we finish this work, we are going to go back to the reliability of supply that we have been used to in the past. So Ghanaians, I want you to be rest assured that in a few days, when this work is completed, we are going to go back to the status quo.
You mentioned at a CBD substation that you reached that threshold, and that's why there was an automatic shutdown of that substation. What really was the impact of this work that you're doing here that led to power outage in central and western parts of Accra?
We said that because we are doing this work, we need to divert. We have shut down the power flowing through this. We have to pass it through the Central Business District. So there is an increase in the power that is going through the central business district, and that is giving rise to. That's why I said that immediately we finish this, we are going to bring back the power to flow through these lines, and then we go back to the status quo. We said that in about 5 days' time, this thing will be completed.
The Energy Minister himself, John Peter Amewu, has been assuring that within 5 days, the challenges should be resolved.
Well, for instance, from here we're going to one of the thermal plants. Yesterday, because of the incident, for instance, we had a problem at the generations. You know, this whole business is from generation, transmission, distribution, as you know. So when this occurred, you know, it affects the generators. Automatically, the generators have to shut down. And when the generators shut down, what it means is that the power to be transmitted, you know, to those areas will automatically, you know, there will be a shortfall, a deficit. And so that's exactly what happened. So we're going to talk to some of the generators to see how, you know, yesterday's activity, you know, impacted on that generation issue. So that's exactly what happened to our friends outside Accra. So apart from the transmission issues that we're witnessing here, and then the BSP point that we saw, you know, at the Graphic Road, you know, there was a trigger, and that trip off the generators to cease, you know, generating power in the Tema enclave. Yeah.
All right, so he mentioned 5 days. So for the rest of the country as well. So in 5 days' time, we should return to normal power supply.
I like the way you guys are so anxious of having the power on. It's good you've now experienced the need for continuous supply of power, and that's the work of these good people. We've been in the past, we saw what happened. So of course, 5 minutes of power shortage, I know how our cherished consumers will feel. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, what they are telling us, the technical people, they will address the problem.
Parliament's Energy Committee has dismissed predictions by the minority that recent power outages being experienced will get worse in the days ahead. Minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, Adams Mutawakilu, at a media briefing described as untruth the insistence by the Energy Minister that Dumsor has not returned.
There have always been shortfalls in generation. 2 weeks ago, 320 megawatts was shut off. So it's not like this just happened all of a sudden. It's not like we have consistent supply, and reliable supply of electricity, and it just happened 2 days ago. If it had been that, we would say, oh, in every power sector it happens in the generation. But this has been consistent, and that is why the minority issued a statement in November that we are back to Dumsor. And since then, they've been load shedding until 2 days ago, it became worse. I'm looking at the financials. Government is trying to borrow, and you can't continue borrowing. We can't continue borrowing. Apart from having ESLA, it's still using GMPC to borrow, just to settle energy sector debts, when GMPC has nothing to do with power. Because VRA is consuming and it's not paying, and because the gas is take or pay, VRA has to look for money somewhere.
Vice Chairman of Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee, George Duke, insists the problem is being resolved and that the supply situation will soon normalize.
I can testify that there were intermittent outages for the past 3 days, and that has been worrying. I wouldn't want to go or take the trend of the debt stock that they have been touting. That is probable, false, because if you take the trend analysis, it's been that we've been owing the IPPs. These are debts that they signed with the IPPs, and it's a legacy debt we came to meet, and we have been even fighting them. And obviously, part of the agreement that PDS signed with the ECG was to also re-inject some financial, strength into the system, and that is why they are now pushing in about $100 million yearly to, as it were, cushion the stock, so that we are not burdened as a government. The Ghanaian has a contractual agreement with this government. What I am reassuring them is that we're not going to go back to Dumsor days. PDS is in the system. They're going to, in a way, strengthen and deepen, the power supply, that we've been, enjoying since we came to government. And we also going to ensure that their their comfort is in a way brought to bear.
Now, the Energy Minister Peter Amewu also reiterated, much as the minority in Parliament would wish Ghana returns to the days of erratic power supply, this will not happen.
The minority, there is no way they would accept the facts of what is happening now in the power sector, because they would have wished that this country is brought back to the days, of prolonged, power outages. We have worked very seriously to make sure that we address those problems. We know what power does to this country in terms of the economic activities. So I can assure Ghanaians that this problem, as you've all gone around to say it yourself, is basically a technical problem. That doesn't run out the fact that, of course, you will need liquid gas, you will need liquid fuel to fire this plant. Those are also necessary ingredients to make sure that the plants are working, and we have sufficient of those now. Once in a while, as we've been told, there's a drop from supply of gas from Nigeria. What we're doing currently is to negotiate with other offshore producers to make sure that we get a spot gas, in the market, and we can put in a spot gas into the same pipeline. So when there is a shortfall in gas from Nigeria, that can also equally address it. It is always best and cheaper when most of the plants are running on gas, because gas, as you are aware, is cheaper than a liquid fuel. So yeah, let it be the minorities thinking that Ghanaians should expect worse, but let it be coming from the majority thinking that Ghanaians should, of course, expect the best. We're not going to expect the worst in this country. We will not do that. We will make sure we confront this problem and address it quickly as possible.
Let's now go live to Kwame Jantua, an energy analyst who joins us via Skype for What We Are to Believe. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, Mr. Kwame Jantua. Now, we have heard from government and we have heard from the minority. Whilst government says that the days of doom so, or we're not returning to the days of doom so, we're hearing from the minority saying that we are actually in the days of doom so. Who are we to believe?
From what I've heard, I understand that it is more technical problem. There are other challenges that the energy sector has been facing. We still have VRA, Ghana Gas, EMPC infected. That's there. Currently, I'm not sure whether you know where ESLA is at the moment. And so, for me, I think the most important is to be able to communicate when these things happen. Information is key. So if we leave such things, even if it is an impromptu, we have to have a mechanism where we communicate to Ghanaians quickly. Because Tumso put a certain psychological impact on the people. And the moment there's any blackout or there's any energy, we go back into the people. So I think information is key, which I don't think what's
All right. Now, we have heard from the minority, we have heard from from government. Are we to believe that indeed there are no challenges as far as the generation is concerned or the supply of fuel is concerned, and that these are just the outages we're experiencing have to do with just technical problems?
You see, one of the things that we're not telling the people is the fact that we have aging equipment. And the fact that we have aging equipment will find these challenges. I believe that to a point, 22% is on and off. So it is something that we should be able to inform Ghanaians about so that we're all prepared when we think. I think because it's so important, we need to be able to keep people. I think the minister about gas flowing from Nigeria and not getting enough into the rest of Africa. What about that flow pipeline we were doing between Etwabo and Tema? We haven't had anything of that nature.
We would have to end the interview here. I'm sorry, Kwame Gentua, because the line isn't too clear, we will reach you. We'll reach out to you on phone. But whilst we try and get Gentua back on the line, let's move on to other stories. And President Akufo-Addo has described as regrettable and unacceptable the recurring electoral and political-related violence during major polls in the country. He's ever confident recommendations in the Emil Short-led commission will fix it. The commission set up last month in response to the Ayawaso West Wuogon parliamentary by-election was tasked to, among others, make a full and impartial inquiry into the circumstances of and establish the facts leading to the event and associated violence during the by-election. The commission was also to identify any person responsible for or who has been involved in the events, the associated violence and injuries, and further to inquire into any matter which it considers incidental or reasonably related to the causes. After a month of public hearing, Chairman of the Commission, Emil Short, presented its report to the President.
When His Excellency the Vice President inaugurated this commission some 4 weeks ago, I was initially daunted by the sheer scope of our work and the mandate vis-a-vis the time given us to report on our work. But at the same time, my commissioners and I and the Executive Secretary also shared in the imperative of working with dispatch in light of the importance of the issues implicated in the inquiry and the public interest involved. We immediately set about working, and with the able support of your Chief of Staff and her staff, especially Mr. Ko Isuman and Colonel Odro, our takeoff and operations were made less difficult. As Chairman, Your Excellency, I'm delighted to stand before you today, having delivered on our mandate within what can be arguably said to be a record time. The depth of our report will convince you, Your Excellency, of the fact that all necessary grounds have been covered, and I am confident that you will find the findings and recommendations useful in shaping important reforms for the future. On behalf of the commissioners and Executive Secretary, and on my own behalf, as Chairman, I wish to thank you, Your Excellency, for this necessary initiative and commend your resolve to stamp out the evil of electoral violence from our body politic.
6 months to issue a white paper on the recommendations proposed by the Commission. President Akufo-Addo said any decision taking will be influenced by government's determination to ensure the rule of law and protection of Ghanaians.
I have first of all to thank you, the members of the Commission, the Secretary, the Council, and all of those associated for agreeing to provide this service to the people of our country. The circumstances in which these unfortunate events occurred might have proved somewhat difficult for others, but you did not hesitate to accept the assignment, and the work that you have done has been in the public domain. The whole country has seen the transparent nature of the proceedings, and we have all followed it obviously with great care and attention. I'm happy that at long last it's come to an end. The findings and the recommendations that have been made will of course be given the greatest possible attention by me and the members of my government. We have the responsibility of ensuring the maintenance of law and order in our country, and that responsibility is not one which can be abdicated on any occasion. So, to the extent that this commission can help us, its findings and recommendations can help us advance the cause of law and order in our country, we would welcome it. It will be the subject of close study,
I'm not sure that in the circumstances of this commission, this is the commission that will call for the issuance of a white paper on our part, but we will look at all of these matters and we'll respond appropriately and accordingly. But in the meantime, I think that my duty is to thank you on behalf of the people of the nation of Ghana for the work that you have done and for agreeing to undertake this very sensitive and important assignment. Hopefully, the recommendations and findings will help us on the road to ridding our nation of this canker of electoral, politically related violence that has unfortunately become part of the culture of our politics. It's regrettable that that should be the case, but there it is. Where our duty is to confront the realities of the day and trying to find a panacea that will assure the good people of Ghana that they can go about their normal duties, including the exercise of their constitutional and political rights, in an atmosphere of peace and freedom.
Our President Akufo-Addo has followed up on his recent promise in his State of the Nation address to introduce new legislation to deal with political thuggery should the political parties fail to work together to end the menace, and has directed the Attorney General to draft a bill as soon as possible to tackle the phenomenon. This directive was contained in a letter addressed to the opposition National Democratic Congress, which has in the last few weeks since the President's State of the Nation address been demanding some clarification. Let's get to the letter now, and says this is to acknowledge receipt of your most recent letter dated March 11, 2019, to thank you for its content. My response to it is in two parts. Firstly, I note that you have, quite properly, given a copy of it to the chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Freddie Blame. I have asked him to respond to its content since he is the rightful person to speak directly for the New Patriotic Party, and I expect that he will do so promptly. Secondly, since the constitutional responsibility of maintaining law and order in our country is that of the executive, that is the President of the Republic, I have, in line with my pronouncement to Parliament during the message on the State of the Nation on February 21, 2019, instructed the Attorney General without prejudice to the outcome of the engagement, if any, between the NPP and NDC to prepare and submit to Parliament as soon as possible specific legislation to deal with the phenomenon of vigilantism and provide appropriate sanctions against its occurrence. I believe that the parliamentary process of enactment affords sufficient space for any citizen to make an input or contribution to the enactment of a good and effective law whose implementation will enable us to rid our nation of politically related violence, a development that can only inure to the benefits of Ghanaian democracy and to the preservation of law and order. And that's signed by the President Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Meanwhile, the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, says her country welcomes the attention Ghanaian organizations are bringing to bear on the problem of addressing the issue of vigilantism. She says the U.S. is ready to support Ghana with whatever assistance required to tackle it. Ambassador Sullivan said this when she interacted with some selected media personnel in the northern region.
Ambassador Stephanie Sullivan said the U.S. government is open to offer suggestions and any specific assistance Ghana may ask for in addressing the issue.
The second aspect you raised of the vigilante groups. So, okay, I was here before. They used to be called macho men, right? But it's a little bit different now. It seems, they're armed. They're not just muscular. So I welcome the attention that Ghanaian organizations have brought to this problem. Again, it's not for foreigners to say, hey, you guys have a problem. It's really for us to say, okay, you all have identified a problem. How can we help you? How can we support you? How can we be a good friend and neighbor to help with this? So I think we're open to receiving ideas and proposals where people might ask us for some specific assistance. I think it's very good to have high-level political commitment on all sides to tackle the problem and to tackle it in a very impartial, free and fair and responsible way.
You're watching Johnny's Prime. We're taking a break to bring you business news. And coming up in business news, government In General Agricultural Workers Union, confident smuggling of cocoa will reduce following Ghana Ivory Coast agreement to improve standards. But later on in the bulletin, Central Regional Security Council orders closure of University of Education Winneba following rioting and destruction to property there over ongoing power struggle. Stay tuned in. The Ministry of Education says it has no policy on the Ghana Partnership Schools project, and that the project was only an idea at its initial stages. Several teacher unions and civil society groups, including NAGRAT and GNEC, have kicked against the proposed project since it came up, arguing it seeks to privatize basic education. President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabunu, earlier told Joy News the decision had already been taken by government on this issue.
To address the learning challenges in schools, the Ministry of Education is looking at all options. National assessment is
well. It's an organization that is fronting. We don't know the people are sure. We understand that they have even established a local component of certain names are beginning to pop up. They are superintending over the whole agenda for the World Bank in Ghana, and the whole thing is they started this discussion 2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago, several meetings have been held in Accra, Mervyn Peak Hotel, and wherever. The last meeting was held at Ada in Akwa Safari. That was when the final decision was taken that the program will be rolled on in September 2019. Let me also state that we don't need to go to Akwa Safari to have any meeting. Meetings can be held in Accra. If they are interested in inviting us, we will not go to any Aqua Safari in Ada. We don't need to go to Aqua Safari.
But speaking at a news conference in Accra Thursday, Deputy Education Minister Dr. Yao Educhum said there is no such policy.
To address the learning challenges in schools, the Ministry of Education is looking at all options. National assessment is one thing that we are looking at. And we also believe that we need many partners. We need to partner effectively with churches and religious organizations. We need to partner effectively with, of course, parents. And we need to ensure that we have implemented measures that will ensure positive learning outcomes. In the midst of this, we all know, as most of you are aware, we have recently completed the Education Strategic Plan. During the consultations that were held leading to the finalization of the Education Strategic Plan, various stakeholders made a case as to why we will not consider including not-for-profit NGOs in partnering with them to improve learning outcomes in our schools, because most of them are already doing some great work in that space. So the ministry, having looked at recommendations in the Education Strategic Plan, have begun looking at, can we do this? Can we look at the opportunity to partner with non-profit organizations? Those discussions are at the embryonic stages. We have no policy for Ghana Partnership Schools. It's just an idea. We have not finalized anything. We are going to make serious consultations when the ministry decides that is one of those options that we can take a look at. The Ministry of Education believes that it's important to consider all options in seeking to turn around learning outcomes in our public schools. And the GPS is one of such options which seeks to improve leadership and management in our schools. We are therefore leaving no stone unturned in examining all options available to us to ensure that children who find themselves in public schools could do equally well as those who go to private schools. Once again, let me emphasize, for the avoidance of doubt, that the ministry is not in any way considering privatization of public basic schools, nor does it intend to do so.
Whilst denying claims that government has blamed teachers for poor learning outcomes, he noted the steps are being taken to address the issue of poor supervision, which has been identified by the ministry as a major challenge in basic education at the public level.
In seeking to address poor learning outcomes in this country, we have always held a view that leadership and lack of accountability at all levels are the two of the most important issues that is of concern to us. And when we are embarking on reform, we must address those two particular issues. We believe that one of the key challenges in public school sector, especially at the basic level, is supervision. Ghana's school inspection and supervision system is undergoing reform in order to address this challenge. And the National Inspectorate Board, the agency of the ministry responsible for inspection, is leading this effort. We are also pursuing leadership training opportunities for school leaders to ensure that they are able to provide the necessary leadership to turn out positive learning outcomes in our schools. We will continue to pursue the empowerment of our teachers to deliver quality learning outcomes and continue to pursue their welfare and interest. It therefore cannot be the case that we are denigrating the teaching profession or blaming teachers for poor outcomes, and any suggestion to this effect is completely untrue.
Education students of the University of Education, Winneba, are packing out of campus following the Central Regional Security Council's decision to shut down the university over recent disturbances there. The students in the last few days have been protesting what they call the unfair dismissal of over 30 teaching and unteaching staff of the school.
On the advice of the Regional Security Council, we cannot continue to allow the university to be in session. That our report is this, that every passing day, the level of insecurity increases or escalates. As we speak, some of the buildings have had their windows shattered. The university's bus, I'm told, the glasses have been shattered. That yesterday, during the period of the power outage, some of the students took opportunity or took advantage of that and set tires burning, blocked roads, and virtually were seeking to turn the security and the peace of the university upside down.
Urged the students not to move out of campus and that he will resolve the issues at play. He told journalists at a news conference he has reached a deal with the dismissed lecturers to write a letter to the governing council of the university to reinstate them.
The consensus here is that a petition be forwarded to the governing council, whereupon the governing council will take immediate steps in the interest of reconciliation to reinstate all those who have been affected in one way or the other, be it demotion, dismissal, or termination of employment. The good news also is that this has been well received, and it is expected that parties would work and act in good faith. All other concerns will be duly addressed, and I have pledged to UTAG and all affected workers of the university that I will continue to mediate and work with them in ensuring that the right things are done. The issue is not about interfering or being personal, but ensuring justice and fairness for all within this university fraternity. Anything that was bad yesterday and is happening today is equally bad. And nobody is going to countenance injustice. We are therefore also urging the students to remain calm. They were fighting for their lecturers. Fortunately, the cry of their lecturers is receiving attention.
Let's get the latest from correspondent Richard Kojonyaku, who is standing by live from Winneba. Hello, Richard. So what do we know? We know that the students were supposed to have left campus, but then we also heard from the MP for Futu saying that the students had to remain on campus. Which way is it? Are the students there or they have left?
Well, Israel, the campus is now deserted. I guess the job of the police is done, and the campus is empty now. Earlier, the MP for the area, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, after the Regional Security Council gave a directive that the school should be shut down, and by 6 p.m., all students should leave the campus, he gave a counter directive indicating or representing to the students that they should remain calm and stay on, because he and the MP for Assam Central, Kennedy Japan, have reached a deal with the sacked or dismissed lecturers that they should write a letter to the governing council to reinstate them. I mean, so there was confusion all over whether the students should follow the directive given by the Regional Security Council or they should heed the call of the MP. But I guess that by 6 p.m. the students had I mean, there were two categories of students that were here. Some woefully packed out successfully, and there were others too that adopted the let's wait and see what happens approach. But at this time, as we speak with you, inching to 9 o'clock, the campus is deserted, and so I guess that the job of the police is done.
Now, Richard, we also earlier, I mean, we've always known that the MP for Futu, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has been a close ally with the Vice-Chancellor, who we now know that they are on two sides. What happened before they fell out?
Well, you know that once upon a time, Professor Mauto Avoke used to be the Vice-Chancellor of this place. And then an assembly member, Supi Kwaira, went to court to get some of the principal officers of the university out of office because, according to him, their stay in office was illegitimate. They were successful, and there were a number of suits, about 6 suits on campus, 2 at the Supreme Court, 2 at the Cape Coast High Court, and 2 at the Winneba High Court. And there were elections, UTAG elections that were also held. The university took the election to court that the elections should be declared null and void. The Winneba High Court declared it so, but a lecturer from the university, who happens to be the UTAG president, local Winneba, also went to the appeals court in Cape Coast, and the decision was overturned. It was one of the grounds for his dismissal by the council. They quickly constituted a disciplinary committee and said that his actions, I mean, contravene the statute of the university, and so he should be booted out of office. Then came Professor Avia Nso, who is also the principal of the Jumako campus of the University of Education in Winneba. They said that his actions too were uncooperative. He was uncooperative. He was not cooperating with management of the university, and so he also received the sack. Other people also received the sack. But we also know that UTAG has counted 1 up to 30 people, non-teaching and teaching staff. We cannot independently verify whether the numbers that UTAG has put to this is true or the numbers are true. But what happened was a shocker, because we all knew that Afenyo-Markin, the MP for Futu, was very, very close, and he was indeed an ally to the Vice-Chancellor who succeeded Professor Mauto Avoke. So it came as a surprise that they fell out, and there is some kind of bad blood between them. And the accusations started flying out. Afenyo-Markin saying that the MP has embezzled some huge amount of money. They put some figure to 5.7 million Ghana cedis, that the MP was doing more than what Avoke was doing that got him dismissed from office. But there are also narratives from the other side indicating that the MP for Efutu, Alexander Fenyumakin, wants to grab everything from the university. He holds someone's hand and will come to the university for them to employ, even with the protest that the university has a structure and has a system, and the system ought to be followed, but he will not get anything out of that. Then there are also contracts that are ongoing, and they say that he wants them to breach the procurement procedures and other things. And the management felt that, well, he was asking too much. And so that might also have necessitated in the current, bad blood between the MP for Efutu and then the vice chancellor of this university. Then there was a new relationship. Mr. Fenyumakin suspected that was growing between the vice chancellor and an independent candidate, the president of Challenging Heights, Dr. Annan. And so that also culminated in that he sensed that he was not safe around the vice chancellor anymore. And so all of these issues, culminated in what we are seeing now. But I can tell you, Israel, that there are three basic reasons underpinning what we are witnessing: tribal, politics, and personal interests of individual actors within this space that have brought us where we are now.
All right, thank you very much, Richard Konyako, bringing us that update there from Winneba. Now, the minority in Parliament is backing calls for the resignation of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Aful Bruni. Minority spokesperson on education, Peter Nochu, says students and staff have lost confidence in his ability to lead the institution.
Yeah, to a large extent, I agree, because there was even a problem with the appointment of the Vice Chancellor to begin with, because according to the statutes of the university, there should be a search for a Vice Chancellor based on certain conditions. But this was not followed. He was just handpicked by the council that you were the acting Vice Chancellor, so we appoint you as the Chancellor. I don't think they did a very good background search before appointing him, because he was one of the problems for the previous Vice Chancellor. So if you want to put him there, you should know that the other Vice Chancellor, the previous one, had followers, and he will also have followers. So there will be clashes between these two factions on campus. Yeah, some of us advised at the time that for peace to prevail at the university, they should look for somebody outside the University of Education family, that is the campus, the university itself. So when you bring somebody from outside to take up the appointment, he will have that moral courage to unite all the functions on campus. But our advice was not heeded, and I'm sure it's one of the reasons why we are here today.
Okay, so then going forward, what will be your recommendation? How should government manage this?
Yeah, you see, the power play at the university leading to the removal of Professor Avoke, and then now the current Vice Chancellor, is very, very serious. The political influence should be divorced from the administration of the university. That is very, very important.
And that's it for the bulletin. I'm Israel Lai. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good night.